Did you know that you can run AI models locally on your machine? To run LLMs on your machine, we need a tool called Ollama. Think of Ollama as a simple way to download and run these big AI models right on your computer. Go to Ollama.com, click on this big download button. Once downloaded, open the file and follow the simple steps to install it. Once installed, verify it by going to command prompt and typing Ollama version. If this shows a version, that means Ollama has been installed successfully. Now, to run our first AI model, run the command Ollama run Llama3. Llama3 is the model name. The first time you run a model, Ollama will download it from the Ollama library. This might take a while depending on our internet speed. Once it's done, you will see a prompt like this. Now you can start chatting with the AI. Let's try something simple. What is the capital of France? Then you get the answer. Let's try another one. Name the 7 wonders of the world. You may notice the response speed is not great. It's not as good as ChatGPT or Google Gemini you might have used online. The speed of the AI depends a lot on your computer configuration. The amount of memory you have, the CPU speed, all of these hardware configurations. To come out of the prompt, you can press Ctrl D. That will exit the prompt. Now Ollama supports a lot of models. To find them, you can go to Ollama.com and click on these models. You will see a lot of models here: DeepSeek, Llama, Qwen, this is by Alibaba, Llama. And there are some specific ones, like for coding, you can search here for code. There is CodeLlama. The models are having their own strengths. Some of them are good in coding. There are some are good in general knowledge. Some of them are good in creative writing, like Llama3 is pretty good in creative. Qwen3, it's very quick. It has smaller models. The model size you can notice here. The Qwen3 latest is 5 GB, but there is also a 0.6 billion parameters one that is only 500 MB. This will be quick. You will also see a command here on how to run this. You can copy this and run it from our CLI. Now with Qwen, let's try out similar examples. Some models also show thinking. For example, the Qwen3, before it shows the actual answer, it will also show what it's thinking. You will notice this is quite faster because it's a smaller model. So it started with thinking, then now it's showing the actual poem that it came up with. This is all the thinking part, then it start giving the answer. Ollama also exposes an API endpoint to chat with AI models. Let's open Postman and try out few examples. Ollama runs on the port 11434 and the API endpoint is called API/chat. In the request body, we need to pass the model name and we need to pass the user message here in the messages array. Let's try to run some examples. I will use the Qwen model, which is faster in local. Let's try. Tell me a fun fact about space. When you get the response, you can notice there is also a think tab. This is all about thinking. Remember, the Qwen model returns the thinking also, and after that the actual answer from the AI. So in case I don't want to see the thinking and only the answer is required, we can pass a parameter here called think is false. This time you'll only see a fact here and no thinking part. We can change the model name here. Let's say I want to try Llama 3. Now for the fun part, we will integrate Ollama in our Java AI agent. Notice now our agent and Ollama are both running in localhost. So our LLMs will be running in our localhost along with our agent. Let us start by creating a service that talks to Ollama via API. To make API calls, we will need a HTTP client. And we also need to define Ollama URL. This will be our URL. Now let's inject this in our constructor. And we will create a method called getChatResponse. This is a JSON that we will pass. For now, let's say I want to use the model Qwen. And we'll replace the content with the user message. Now we will make the HTTP request. Now we will send the request to Ollama. The send might throw exception, so let's throw it out for now. So let's define a POJO to hold this API response. For now, we are only focused on the message part. We can ignore the fields that we don't need, which are not defined in our class. We also need a constructor. Let's use our Lombok. Let's use an object mapper to convert a string to the object. Finally, we'll return the chat response. And let's annotate this as a service. Let's create a HTTP client in the constructor. Now we have the service ready. Let's make an endpoint in our controller. We'll create an endpoint called Ollama. We will need Ollama service. A quick endpoint to test out our Ollama integration. Let's start our Spring Boot application and test the Ollama integration. This is the endpoint we created. Let's try the simple example. So we are using Qwen as a model. So it is pretty quick to answer basic general questions. Let's try another coding related question. Python code to validate email. So in Ollama, there are several models. Some of them are made specific for coding. For example, if you search here in the library, so there is CodeLlama, CodeLlama, there is Qwen coder, DeepSeek coder. So for any coding related agents, it's better to use these models. So we do get the response from the general models, but it's better to use CodeLlama. Let's download CodeLlama by running the command Ollama run CodeLlama. Let us improve our agent to be smart enough to pick the right model for the task. For example, I want to use CodeLlama for code related tasks and Qwen for general purpose, and let's say I want to use Llama for any creative writing. Llama is supposed to be pretty good in creative writing kind of tasks. So this is our requirement. Right now we are using only Qwen, but I want to switch it to different models based on the user message. So what user is asking about. So how do we pick? That's a main task that we need to implement. Before that, let us define these three types as a enum. So I have a enum called model type, so which will have three types called general, code, and creative. And for each of these I want to assign a model. For general I will use Qwen because it is pretty fast. Coding I want to use CodeLlama, and for any creative task I want to use the general Llama. So I want to save this model name. So this is the model type enum that we will use. So the service here will accept a model type and replace this hard-coded model name with this actual name. So now we need to figure out how do we pass the correct model type. Let's go to our controller. Within the Ollama service, we will create another method called pick optimal model, and we will pass this message, user message. So based on the user message, this method will identify which model to use. Let's pass this model type to the chat method. So we need to implement this method. The best way is to ask the AI models to figure out what is the type of the user query. So we will say invoke Llama. We can use Llama for this purpose to pick optimal model. So first let's define the prompt. So we are using AI model to pick the appropriate model. This is the prompt we will use to identify what kind of user query it is. Classify this query as creative, code, or general. This is the query that user passes. Respond with single word, either creative, code, or general. So we will use the Llama for this checking of types. We could use any other, but Llama is a pretty good model for this. And we return the enum type, model type of type. So we are expecting AI to either return creative, code, or general, any one of these. We need to pass the prompt that we prepared to this chat. So in the controller, we are getting this type and passing it here. And here, whatever type we are passing, it will be using that type. So you can run any number of models in your local machine. The performance may differ based on the model size. The text block with triple quotes is having problem formatting the message properly. So let's use normal string and append the message here. And in the enum, we had mistyped it as Llama. It is Llama3. Let's fix that. Now let's try out some examples. When I ask for capital of England, it returns me quickly the capital of England is London. And how do I know which model is running? There is a command called Ollama PS that will list down all the running models, which are models are currently running. So it initially ran Llama to figure out what is this query type. Then it ran Qwen3 for our response. Let's try some code related task. Write Python code to sort an array. Since we are running multiple models, the performance varies depending on your laptop configuration. This is the command you can use to see what are the running models. There is also Ollama list that returns all the models that we have installed in our system. So I have so many installed, but currently only 2 are active. These 2 takes up a lot of memory and CPU. Here is the Python code it generated. So you notice here CodeLlama is now active. So you can try out few examples. This will take a while because Ollama needs to stop and start different models depending on our request. To summarize what we did, we installed Ollama and integrated Ollama in our agent to make an API call with the user message. We also implemented a way to pick the ideal model based on user query using this prompt. So this way you can play around with multiple models. You can add more details to this. So go ahead, explore Ollama library, look at other models. For example, Mistral is good. You can try it out and explore on your own and give it a try in our Java agent.